Okay, how's it going, everybody? I know I'm gonna start off the gate right away. I did promise a couple of people back on last Friday's stream that I was gonna show off my football that was had like all these like 40 plus signatures on it. So for all of y'all that are catching this early, y'all are getting a treat. All right. So without further ado, I'm gonna practice a little something that I have gonna get better at eventually. And I'm just gonna do this. Check out the camera. Make sure that it faces this way. And, oh, I don't know how well you can see that. But this is the football I was talking about. It looks really small. Oh, no. Oh, well. I'm going to have to get real close up on these signatures. That way you guys can take a look at them. As I'm going to need a help trying to figure out who everyone is. All right. So, first off the bat, there is Kyle Pitts. This one is, I'm not sure who. If that's too dark, let me know. Then I got, let me look it up. Then I have this one. You see that really well? I don't know who that is. I definitely, let me hold it up a little bit better like that. I don't want the glare. I don't know who that one is. In theory, this camera worked a lot better. I'm just gonna be honest. There's OZ's. That's Olamide Zacchaeus. I don't know who this V is. I think that's an extension of OZ. Then over on this side, I don't know whose signature that is. That has got to be Brandon Copeland. Okay. Then heading over here, I know that that's Cordell Patterson. I don't know who that is. So that's for other people to see. That is yet another person I don't really know. I think this is way too dark. I'm gonna have to figure this out another time then. Maybe I can upload some of the pictures later. But yeah, if I go too high, it might be caught in the glare. So I got that. I think that's Willie Beavers. There's Matt Hennessy. I think that's Dahlman. Man, if that's Lindstrom, I think right here is Matt Gono. And I think here is definitely Jake Matthews. Over on this side, I see there's Matt Ryan. That is, I want to say that could also be Julio, because the two J's. I don't really know who that is. That's got to be Michael Walker. That's Quadri Ollison. That is just a funky 22. I don't know who this is at all. I don't know who that one is. There's a lot of names where I'm like, okay, well, some of them I can recognize. Like here, that's Jacob Tuioti Mariner. I think over here is Caleb McGarry. This is so dark. This is a bad idea. Why did I do this? Okay, well, you get the point. That's there for safekeeping for next time, and I appreciate the gift that was given to me. Now I'm going to go back, flip it back to my face. Okay. So after that fiasco, how's it going, everybody? Got a new member and Demon Hunter Vic. So shout out to him if he's still here. Jalen Mayfield giving us a shout out. Got Sean Wiley coming up in here saying what's up. Josh McClure, I don't know what I was wrong with. How's it going, Twisted Torch? I was involved in your stream. Maybe you can be involved in mine. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. That whole football was some of the roster for April as of May 7th, 2021. So we'll just kind of see how that one pans out and see how many people are still on the team on this football. And it hopefully add some value to it. Okay. So now that I got that out of the way, let's get into some of the fantasy Q&A. Got Jay Morris 58. Welcome. Big shout out to everyone that paid attention and read my article about week 2 on the Atlanta Falcons Nation website. Seriously, that was a big help, okay? Because I uploaded the last week on like my dinky little website, which is like right there. Yeah, no one really saw it. All right, I got like 20 views. This one got like 5 times that amount in less than a day. So I'm excited. So if you haven't paid attention to that one, I worked really hard on that one, and it got to the point where I was doing like a super deep dive into it, to the point where once I got to the second half of the breakdown for the film, I ended up having to open up this bottle of Cabernet. It was that bad. All right, so if that's the case, like if I do my best writing with like half a bottle of wine in my system, then I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more bottles behind me or in front of me. So that could be good for at least up to like week 10. So yeah, so appreciate that. I'm going to start to incorporate a little bit more of that style. Rocking the Kyle Pitts jersey for the one time. So sipping that gin and juice. Yeah. I also have like an empty bottle of Hennessy. I'm the only person that drinks in my household. So I want to start getting into some more fantasy Q&A. I can probably do a little bit of a review from what happened in week 2. Oh, okay. Yo, I know you might hate this, but I traded Kyler and Tyson for DK. However, my team is now Herbert, Saquon, Kamara, wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, tight end Hawkinson, flex DK, and then there was MT. Is that Michael Thomas? So you traded Kyler Murray and Tyson. Who was Tyson again? I'm trying to pay attention to like every team in the league, and some names just escape me. So who did you get from that trade? Because Saquon, I'm not really too confident in. Herbert's going to have a little bit of a competition there against Kansas City this coming Sunday. Kamara, he could have a bit of a bounce back, but it's not promising. Depending, like, the Saints did not look good at all against Carolina. Okay, I'm fully convinced that they spent their entire offseason trying to prepare to beat Green Bay, and that was it. Because how do you go from looking almost perfect as a whole offense and defensive unit only to get slumped by the Panthers, who is a young and talented team, by the way? But come on, like, you had to have more. Oh, was it Tyson Williams? That's what it was. I was just reading his name regularly. Like, he's got this whole thing where it's like, oh, hey, you got to have the apostrophe, you got to capitalize the S, you got to say it, you got to say it right. So you got DK and Justin Herbert for trading Kyler. Why would you trade Kyler though? He's like the best fantasy quarterback right now. Like, sure, Tyson Williams and DK for DK is a little bit upgrade, but now your running back room is even thinner. Because, like I said, Saquon I don't really trust. I see him as like, and I mentioned this up in Twisted Torches stream that was like just a little bit, like an hour and a half before mine. So if you haven't checked that one out, go ahead and give that one a good watch. But I mean, Herbert's fine. Like that one isn't much of a drop off. But I mean, you're right. I do kind of hate that. Because I don't think you won that trade. Because even then, like, DK for the Seahawks offense, they're like a hit and miss. You know, when it comes to like feeding the receivers, I had the benefit of having Tyler Lockett, and he did wonders for my fantasy team in the first 2 weeks. What's going on, K Styles? Glad to see you and Twisted joining early. So you still have Gaskin and Melvin Gordon. I don't like those ones either. The Dolphins were anemic at best against Buffalo. I don't know what was going on. They were hosting that game, and they never entered the chat. So something's got to give there. I think they're going to have some sort of a bounce back week. But given the fact that they are up against Vegas, who's been playing way out of their minds, I still don't like that matchup. And then with Melvin Gordon, he's splitting carries with Javonte Williams. So I don't like that depth that you have there at running back. I would try to get who? Okay, let's take a look. I'm going to have some of these names up next to me. Let's start going through them because I'm going to try to get you a better running back somewhere. Ooh. If Thursday night taught me anything, J.D. McKissick is a legitimate running back to use. And if you can't pick him up, Cordell Patterson is another legitimate running back that you can use. And I'm pretty sure that they're available. All right? Because no one else in your fantasy team is probably paying attention to the Falcons. Not that closely. So pick them up and just ride them on the flex if you want. If you think that you're set at least one of those running back positions, which Kamara, yeah, he's going to have some good games. Like if he faces the Vikings every single week, then sure, he's going to end up like the season with like 86 touchdowns because they can't stop him for anything. But when it comes to like anyone else on that team, you have CeeDee Lamb. He's a bit of a hit and miss because sometimes he will have like a really good game, but his stat line should be better because he sometimes still drops the ball. Keenan Allen is a dependable tight end. It is good that you stack like a quarterback and one of their weapons. So having that stack with Herbert and Allen is a really good combo for your team. Hawkinson, I did mention this a couple weeks ago that he was going to be a reliable target. He's going to have, he's going to have some looks in the red zone for you. So that's going to do you good. But yeah, as of right then, you did okay. You did okay. I'm not going to just say that you failed absolutely. I do want to see you try to get another running back because I think you lost that. I think you lost that trade because the running backs are so much harder to come by in fantasy than a wide receiver because there's going to be like at least like 64 wide receivers deep, but there's only like 32 good options, and even then, those 32 starting options at running back, they vary in terms of how often they're utilizing the offense. All right, hit me with it, Hidden X. Because I don't know what your question is. I don't think you finished it. Okay. So while Hidden X is still waiting for that comment, we got Be Passional TV. He says, we worked out John Brown, and I still say we give Josh Gordon a chance too. Yeah, I think our separation against Tampa was a bit of an issue. So until Gage is back at full health, I think it was a good idea that we at least try to get John Brown in the building. As for Gordon, oh my God, he is such a boomer bust prospect right now. I do really like him as a player. He's a big body. He's like the closest thing to Julio Jones back in 2013 that anyone else could have gotten. So it was a sad story to see him like just constantly go up and down the roller coaster. Him and Aldon Smith. Like the fact that both of them, they just can't get out of their own way. That's a sad story. Okay, here we go. Should I start Mike Williams or Deebo Samuel? Deebo Samuel is on a tear right now. Mike Williams is a dependable red zone option, but yeah, San Francisco doesn't have any running backs. All right, and it's gotten to the point where I'm surprised they haven't worked out like Todd Gurley. Like, how bad do you have to be to not work out Todd Gurley? Because he's disappeared off the face of the earth ever since we dropped him. So I don't know what was going on there. But as far as Devo is concerned, he's going to be utilizing the offense a little bit more than Mike Williams. Because Justin Herbert, he still likes to distribute the ball around a little bit more than the 49ers right now. Like, as of right now for San Francisco, it's like Deebo Samuel, then George Kittle at the moment. And then after that, it's a toss-up between anyone else. So with that versus Mike Williams, who can probably get you like 3 catches, one of them be a touchdown, and then anything else after that is a little bit uncertain because they got Kansas City, and I know that their secondary is fine, but there's something about Justin Herbert against the Chiefs that they're going to get you a competitive matchup. But Kansas City also knows what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball too. And I know that wasn't like that didn't really come to fruition against Baltimore, but that's because Baltimore wasn't really relying on their passing attack. So you're welcome for that. Okay. As we get into some more of these questions that are going to be coming up, so again, please feel free to drop some of your questions about your fantasy team, about who you should probably pick up, who you should start over who. If you want to try to make a trade proposal, I'll be here to guide you. But as that is going on in the background in the comment section, I'm going to be starting to talk about the Week 3 previews. I got all the teams, all weekend matchups on my TV again. So I kind of watched every single game again because I'm really curious to see, like, okay, what offenses have already had their identity figured out by now. Because this is Week 3. Like, if you don't know who you are on offense, that's a problem. And I don't think you can figure that out. Like, you're going to be struggling. So you got to figure that out quickly, or else it's going to be a long season for you guys. Okay, we got a comment here. I'm in a 10-man PPR league, by the way, and the team that has Kamara also has Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McLaurin, and Michael Thomas. Or who's MT? Because Michael Thomas isn't playing. I want to know who that is. If it is Michael Thomas, then I don't know why they have him. What's good, Kenneth? But as of right now, Kamara's fine. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he did have that fumble against Odafe-Oweh, which that was just heartbreaking if you're a Kansas City fan. The fact that you lost the game like that out of Mahomes' control, welcome to the club. We've been having all sorts of losses like that over here in Atlanta. You have no idea. Or maybe you do have an idea because of all the memes that are going on about us. But anyways, let's get on to the Week 3 preview. Our tomorrow game is going to be Carolina at Houston. Here's the thing. Like I said, Carolina, they're young, they're a tough opponent. Oh, my bad. I think you missed the first part of my question. What happened? Okay, here it is. My team is quarterback Josh Allen, running backs Henry and Gibson. Nice. AJ Brown, nice. Godwin, nice. Thielen, nice. Galladay, nice. Thoughts on trading Gibson and AJ Brown for Kamara and Michael Thomas? Don't. And I'm not trying to be biased here. But Michael Thomas is not going to be on the field for you in at least a couple of weeks. So who you have right now is fine. Gibson was like a first-round draft pick for you, most likely. And even though he's going to be splitting some carries with J.D. McKissick, like I mentioned earlier, he's still a viable option. He's still got a good burst of speed, being a former wide receiver back in college. Okay, so glad we got that cleared up. Okay, So back to the Carolina and Houston. I don't like the fact that I'm about to say that Carolina might be 3-0. You know, unless Tyrod Taylor motivates yet another quarterback to just perform way above their level, which apparently is possible. Okay, when you're Tyrod Taylor and you've already had this track record of, oh man, I got injured or benched for Josh Allen, and then he just goes on a tear, and then I get sent over to Cleveland, and then they draft Baker Mayfield, and now he's won the job over there, and then I'm signing over here in LA, and then I get my lung punctured only for Justin Herbert to go off. So who knows what the heck can happen with Davis Mills at this point? Like, all bets are off right now. So I want that to happen because he still has good pieces around him. I know Nico Collins is questionable. I don't think that he's going to be playing, but Brandon Cooks is still a viable option too in the league. You have a good rotation at running backs. Mark Ingram has done his thing. Phillip Lindsay has done his thing. Even David Johnson got a couple of good touches too. So I'm still avoiding Texans offensive players as for right now for this week because of the quarterback situation. I don't like, yeah, hopefully, you know, and I hope that ghost name is Justin Reed because that safety, he needs to get some more recognition from the NFL, man. That guy's been on a tear. All right, so I want him to get more respectful looks at his position. But I mean, Carolina's got a good core, you know, and that's something I never wanted to say ever as a Falcons fan. How's it going, Asia Green? Everyone, show some love and respect for her. But yeah, I don't like seeing our division rivals be this good. You know, it doesn't do me any favors. Obviously, if you're starting Christian McCaffrey, then yeah, that's a no-brainer. But as for the rest of the receivers, you know, against that Saints game, I saw like Brandon Zylstra, of all people, get plenty of looks. And that was surprising to me because you have Robbie Anderson, who really couldn't get much of a rhythm going. You had DJ Moore, who got the touchdown in the red zone, but other than that, wasn't much of a focal point. And you still had Terrace Marshall, who's still yet to be like unleashed in the offense too. And then you got like Dan Arnold, which can I just say that I love like having to say Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold. That is just the funniest thing to me. But yeah, they got a young core there, and it's up to the quarterback. I still think that they're not going to be as much of a contender this year because they're just that one quarterback away from being like a legit contender, which I don't like that at all. You know, like Matt Rule over there, he drafted all sorts of defensive players. He's got studs at every single spot on that defense, from Brian Burns to you got Derek Brown, you got Shaq Thompson, you have Hassan Reddick now, you have J.C. Horn that goes drafted there, you got Jeremy Chin. Like everyone has at least a good spot there. So obviously, if you have Carolina's defense available in your fantasy leagues, I suggest that you pick them up because I don't think the Texans are going to do much against them. You know, and I know that we've been really seeing like these Thursday games go from like having a score of like 29-31 or 29-30. I don't think it's going to be that way 3 times in a row. So if you're expecting that, then I don't think it's going to happen. All right. So the first Sunday game that's popping up on my TV screen is going to be Indianapolis at Tennessee. I like Indianapolis as a better team than Carolina. But I also have to force myself to say that they might be 0-3 and that Carolina might be 3-0. So early on in the NFL season, don't let these records fool you. All right, that's one of the things that I can tell you right away. Like, don't let these records be like, oh, well, this team's 2-0 or this team's like 1-1. So it's like, oh, they're just in the middle of the pack, and this over here is like 0-2, so they're gonna suck now because they're not gonna make the playoffs. That's what everyone's like been saying. What's good, the nation? But I think the Colts are a better team than Carolina. But they just have a gauntlet of a schedule that I don't think they're going to overcome. Because now they have Tennessee, who really figured out their offense this time around. And they made a valiant effort coming back from a 24-9 deficit. Julio was robbed of a touchdown. I will say that. But, yeah, that's the last you're going to ever hear me talk about him. Anyways, I mean, their defense made a couple of key stops. Carson Wentz sprained both of his ankles, so now Jacob Eason's going to be on the field. So if you have Titans defense, their only weapon right now is going to be Jonathan Taylor, and if it's not him, then it's going to be Zach Pascal or something, who's been having a lot of red zone attempts and touchdowns. So I made sure to pick him up on my fantasy team because he's available everywhere I've seen. So if you want, maybe down the road. All right, I wouldn't start Zach Pascal if Jacob Eason's on the field because he did not look good in his final couple of snaps against LA. He already one of his first couple of throws, he already threw a pick to Jalen Ramsey. I'm like, why are you even throwing to that side of the field? But I have to acquiesce. So moving on, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about this Chargers and Chiefs game. As I mentioned before with Mike Williams, I think he's a solid receiver, but he's not my favorite in this matchup. With the running backs, I want to see a little bit more Austin Eckler, especially at the backfield. I just want to see a wee bit more. And as for Kansas City, you know what? I want to build Clyde Edwards-Helaire confidence up, and I want to say hey, maybe start getting him some early touches, making him feel confident again about carrying the ball for you. Because if that carries over to the next couple of games, then you're really going to be one-dimensional, which I think that you're fine as a team to overcome. Obviously, you've done that before without him. But it just goes to show that any team is susceptible of becoming too predictable on a certain side of the field to a fault. And Chargers are definitely a team that can capitalize off of that. For Kansas City's side, I mean, that offense still lives and dies off of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Anyone else is really not that much dependable anymore. And it's going to be wishy-washy. So I'm not having a lot of confidence in anyone else there, which I don't really want to say, I want to get more people involved. I want to be able to say that Mecole Hardman is going to be a legit receiver for you, but that's not how it's shaping up to be right now, and Kansas City scores a lot of points especially in September. So, yeah, make sure this is what I'm here for. I'm not just here for talking about the teams upcoming on this upcoming Thursday and Sunday, but I'm also being here to help you out if you're fantasy. If you need that win right now, because I am 2-0 in one of my leagues, and I'm 1-1, and even then I lost by a couple of points. So that was in my week 1 matchup, which week 1 was chaotic. But I feel confident in my team. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I know a couple of my friends watched the stream afterwards. So I'm not going to reveal every single one of my secrets. But moving on to the next team, back to Kansas City and LA. I wouldn't feel comfortable starting any of these defenses if you have them. Although I do feel comfortable starting at least Harrison Butker as a kicker. So you have that, which I think you probably already have one kicker, and that would have been him because he's one of the top kickers. So moving on to the Bengals at the Steelers. There's something about the Steelers. Somehow they played down to their opponent and then play up to them at the same time. So with Cincinnati coming in this week at their place, I kind of see them playing down again. And I know that Joe Burrow had 3 back-to-back-to-back interceptions against Chicago, who let's just say that really doesn't happen. That's not going to happen again. Even though like he's going up against Pittsburgh, who I think has a much better secondary than Chicago, I can't expect that to happen again, especially not like back to back to back like that. So when I take a look at the Bengals offense, I still think that I'm pretty confident in all three of those receivers, in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon has surprised me yet again, making sure that he gets his necessary yardage. But sometimes he can also be stopped, and I kind of see that being the case here. For Pittsburgh, I don't know what's going on with Najee Harris. I kind of do, but then I kind of don't, because I think he's still suffering from Saquon Barkley disease. I think that right now he's got an offensive line that he can't overcome, and he's kind of being force fed the ball and doesn't really know what to do with it. That's why he's not getting a whole lot of yards, because I don't think they've really implemented him into the game plan too much. As for the receivers, with Big Ben, I can trust Big Ben right now as a quarterback if you want to pick him up and start him. But that's about it. You know, I don't know which receiver is going to go off, or if any of them are going to go off. It might just be a running game just to get Najee Harris some more forced carries, you know. And if that's the case, I don't think Pittsburgh wins. Okay, so Jalen Mayfield says people are picking up Daniel Jones and starting him because he's quote unquote playing Atlanta and they're trash. Our thoughts is he's a mobile quarterback, you know, and I think people are like, oh, well, if Atlanta was like this to Jalen Hurts, then they're going to be the same way towards Daniel Jones. This is a case-by-case scenario. You know, with Philadelphia, they had a much better offensive line, and with New York, they have a much better receiving core. So with that, I don't really trust it. I do want to see us have a lead early on, which is something that I think we can get, even if we don't have the ball first. And if that's the case, then it's going to start forcing Daniel Jones to throw more, or at least have another impact on the run, something of that sort. He's not the worst quarterback option, but, I mean, if you're starting Daniel Jones and if you're just strictly looking for matchups, this isn't the best matchup to have. Okay, so Prove It says Cordell Patterson or James Robinson. Oh my gosh, with James Robinson, he's not getting involved in Jacksonville whatsoever. Like, at least not enough from what I've seen. I think that Urban Meyer is still trying to force Trevor Lawrence to play hero ball, and it's just not working. You know, Jacksonville is up against Arizona. Good God, no. Like, don't start James Robinson. He's not going to find any running lanes. Not against that stout defense. Not against those linebackers. So, hey, like we saw what happened with Cordell Patterson. You know, I will say this, that if we have the lead, I think we see more Mike Davis. But if we're kind of like a tie, you know, at an impasse, or we're somehow behind, then we see more of Cordell Patterson. But I think out the gate, I think you're going to get a good mixture of both. I think what we should probably do is what Tampa's been doing, and that's one drive with Ronald Jones, one drive with Leonard Fournette. All right, and they're going to live and die on that hill. So if we kind of mix it up like that, like, hey, have one drive where it's just Cordell Patterson, or one drive where it's just Mike Davis. I mean, I can see that as a viable option. And says, do I think I should trade DeAndre Swift for Marvin Jones? Again, like, Marvin Jones is in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is going up against Arizona. I don't like your chances there. DeAndre Swift, he's fine. He's going up against Baltimore. I don't like either one of those options. But you're going to do yourself a lot worse if you trade DeAndre Swift, which is a running back, which running backs are hard to come by, versus Marvin Jones, which you can still get some sneaky good options at wide receiver. So I don't trust that trade. Well, I mean, that one run with the holding call, with the drop my phone, with the quote unquote holding call on CJ Board, that was a load of baloney. That was not a holding call whatsoever. And that negated like a 50+ yard rushing touchdown, which, I mean, you add that to the tally of what Daniel Jones had. He almost had a better rushing game than a passing game against Washington. So if Washington's going to struggle with Daniel Jones, how do you think they're going to do against Josh Allen this week? It's not going to be good. Yeah, it's all bad. I don't see J. Rob ever getting loose. Yeah, I mean, running backs are still going to have at least some sort of involvement in an offense. So I'm going to pick up my phone. There we go. Running backs are going to have some sort of involvement, even just as a reliable dump-off option, which Trevor Lawrence needs, because good God. Even then, like I said, those linebackers with Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons in Arizona, they're going to get all over the field, sideline to sideline. So even the flats aren't safe. So I really feel bad for Trevor. So unless you guys need that again, I'm just going to preview for the rest of the teams. I'm going to scroll back up. And yeah, I kind of said my piece with Bengals at Steelers. Then we have Chicago at Cleveland. This is going to be first time where we see Justin Fields for the whole game. And if I'm going to see the same, what the heck? I got my first super chat, y'all. Jalen Mayfield, thank you very much. I'm going to ask that. I'm going to snatch that from Matt Mike later on. Hopefully I can get some better equipment later on. But hey, appreciate it. And if you like what I'm putting down, I suggest you try to check out not my website, but my article on the AtlantaFalconsNation.com. I've put my heart and soul and my my bottle of wine into that thing. So, hey, props to you, man. Golly, I don't know what to do now. First of all, I got like a whole my article blew up like crazy. So I'm already like that already made my week there. And on top of that, now I'm getting super chats. So what the heck? So like I said, back to the thing. Gotta stay focused. Can't get too excited. All right. So Chicago at Cleveland. Like I said, this is gonna be the first time that we see Justin Fields. And if I see anything of what I saw from last week against Cincinnati, oh boy, he had like 60 passing yards on like 6 attempts, which sure, that's like averaging like 10 yards a throw, but he almost choked that game against Cincinnati. How do you almost outbungle the Bengals? I mean, I think it's just a situation where he's in Chicago. But some of y'all wanted to root for him. There you go. There's your opportunity. Congratulations. Feel very good about yourself, about him doing everything he could in order to lose that game against Cincinnati. But if it wasn't for those 3 back-to-back interceptions, I don't think they stood a chance against Cincinnati coming back in that game. What are the Texans going to do? I think they're just going to host the game against Carolina, and that's about it. I don't think they show up. I think they're just going to be as anemic as Miami because Tyrod's not there anymore. He had like some sort of like a hamstring injury. He pulled something, but it's going to be Davis Mills now. And hey, for the 1% chance that he's going to have like this breakout season, like this Justin Herbert type season, which Justin Herbert was good enough because he was at least a first-round draft pick. Texans spent their first pick in the 3rd round to get Davis Mills, probably for the scenario that Tyrod Taylor He's not going to last until week 3. So we might as well pick up a contingency plan now. Other than that, I mean, they're going to play somewhat competitive because Darnold likes to put teams back into the game. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that, like, straight up shovel pass to the to the defensive tackle against New Orleans. I was like, what are you doing? Like, that was the only time that New Orleans scored. It was because of that, like, oh, hey, here you go. Here's a 15-yard field to work with. They almost botched it up with the Alvin Kamara run, and then Jameis Winston ran it in. So, I mean, that was the only points they got. I mean, hey, if Carolina's on a roll right now, oh boy, these might be some of the only couple of wins that they're going to get because their schedule is also unforgiving down the stretch. But yeah, I don't see much of that. I don't see anything. I don't see good hope for the Texans right now. So hey, maybe start Brandon Cooks if you still have him, but that's about it. And he just might be for the for the garbage time stats. It's going to bounce back. We'll get revenge. I mean, you're up against New England. If you nearly laid a goose egg against Carolina, what do you think Bill Belichick's defense is going to do for Jameis Winston? I think before the game, New England's going to probably pull some stunt and remove Jameis's LASIK surgery. And then we're going to see like the old 2019 Jameis Winston. Because I don't know what's going on. But if you thought that Sean Payton was going to fix him, Teddy Bridgewater was better. I'm just going to say that. Okay, back to the fantasy. AJ Evans says Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chase Edmonds, Brandon Cooks, or Deebo Samuel for a flex. Deebo Samuel. I don't even know why he's not your starter. If he's your flex, I'd love to see what your wide receiver group is looking like outside of this. Chase Edmonds is fine, but Cardinals are still trying to be a very pass-happy team. They're trying to get Kyler Murray to get all the touchdowns and all the yards. So just to try to make him like really compensate for the top like fantasy quarterback that he was last year. Either if it's Helaire or Cordell Patterson. Again, like with Helaire, he's in an offense that's still trying to figure out like when to run the ball. With Cordell Patterson, he's going to get more attempts. And because of that breakout game that he just had against Tampa, which I think is a better defense right now than the Chargers, who were getting flagged after flagged after flagged after flagged, which was just ridiculous to see. Yeah, I mean, you got a better chance with Cordell Patterson right now. So he's going to be hidden somewhere, whether he's listed as like a wide receiver or a running back. So, hey, we got another Noah. Start A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, and Mike Williams. Start 2. Okay, so you're trying to make me choose 2 out of these 4. Okay, so A.J. Brown on the Titans is going up against Indianapolis. Indianapolis is struggling in the passing defense game. So whether that was Russell Wilson or whether that was Matthew Stafford, I think Ryan Tannehill can nearly do the same thing. But I also kind of think that Derrick Henry can just take over the game like he did last time. So there's that to watch out for, because sometimes A.J. Brown can take over a game, but then sometimes now he's got to share the bulk with Julio, who really had his breakout game right now again in Tennessee. And for the second time, I'm going to say that that's the last time I'm going to mention him. And A-Rob, oh my gosh, with Justin Fields throwing to him, that chemistry has not really been built up yet. I see a better chemistry with Darnell Mooney right now than with A-Rob. And A-Rob is like a just chuck it up to him and then see what happens kind of receiver. Or Donald Mooney, like he's a smaller target, so you got to like really scheme him up and make sure that he gets separation, which he can. You certainly can. But yeah, I don't really love that option either right now. Chris Godwin, Mike Williams. If I got to start two of these guys, I'm probably going to say Chris Godwin because Tom Brady is going to give everyone the football. I don't know how Brady manages to get like 5 footballs on every single play, but someone's going to get open eventually. And then Mike Williams, he's going to get some end zone targets, so he's going to be a good red zone threat for you. Allen Robinson could be that way, but again, it's all about like who's throwing to him. So with Mike Williams, I trust Justin Herbert right now as a better red zone thrower than Justin Fields. And then same thing with AJ Brown. It's a coin toss right there for Titans. They really want to get Derrick Henry involved, and they certainly got that against Seattle. So maybe we start to see more of that. So yeah, my two for there. Geez, too close. My two for there is going to be Chris Godwin, and right now Mike Williams. I'm going to die on that hill. AJ Evans says the 2 wide receivers starting is Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson. Okay. So you had Deebo Samuel as a flex, but you're starting Deontay Johnson. Amari Cooper, I understand because Dak Prescott's going to throw like crazy. But with Deontay, he's still sharing targets with either Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, and now Pat Freiermuth is going to be involved in the game more. They're still trying to force feed Najee Harris. So, there's only so many plays that the Steelers are going to have in a given game. So, if Cincinnati does their game plan correctly, which I think is limit the offense, but at the same time, then that means you're going to keep that defense on the field for a lot longer. So maybe you try to tire them out with Joe Mixon. It's going to be an interesting game to watch because they're both 1-1. If Cincinnati beats this one, then I think they're going to be leading the division, or at least tied. Because I do like my chances with Cleveland winning. I really like my chances with Baltimore winning. So yeah, Pittsburgh's probably going to be at the bottom of the AFC North right now, which I don't think is a complete reflection of what they are as a team right now. Like I said, don't be looking at these records right now and think that this is all they're going to be. All right, some teams are still trying to figure out who they are, and they need to get that done fast. All right, we are definitely one of those teams that need to get figured that out fast, and I think we are doing that. I think someone else mentioned it that we're like one of the top rushing teams in the league. So hey, that's an improvement. That's not the same Falcons team that we were. Yeah, I think that Cordell Patterson can be a legitimate RB1 right now, or at least an RB2. Because if you're one of those ones that drafted a running back early, you already have one of them set. So back to so I'm gonna go back to the Bears-Browns game with Cleveland on that side of the field. I think they're really going to control the game. Because that defense is going to be they're going to cause a lot more problems than Cincinnati would. Let me tell you that. So with that in mind, I don't see a whole lot of confident snaps in Justin Fields right now. I think that Andy Dalton really got injured at the bad time. So this is what I'm saying. If you want Justin Fields to be Patrick Mahomes was not built in a day. He was built like Rome, and he sat basically all of 2017 until the last game against Denver, and then he got his chance after Alex Smith stepped out the gate. When you're in a quarterback competition when you're in a quarterback room with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, and Andy Dalton is the one that wins the quarterback battle, I don't know what you got going on there. That's not a recipe for success. So, and now you're kind of throwing them into the fire. There's only going to be so many Justin Herbert like examples in the NFL in terms of that quarterback position. And at the moment, I don't see him as one of them. Look, the football fan in me really wants Justin Fields to do well. Like, I'm not trying to rip him on purpose, but at the same time, he's not ready. He came out against Cincinnati half-baked. All right, and it really showed because he was still trying to figure out like his throwing mechanics at some point. Like he was a little bit too heel clicky. He's just kind of getting some inaccurate throws. Like he really needed to work on his mechanics this time. So you got that to worry about, and then you have the whole situation that like now they're up against a tougher opponent in Cleveland. Like that's not fair for a rookie quarterback to get thrown in the fire right now. I do think that was a better decision to keep Andy Dalton on the field for Week 1 against the Rams, because you're still trying to build up his playbook knowledge. Justin Fields, I mean, like you're still trying to build up his playbook knowledge, and you can't do that in Week 1. All right, because now he's going to end up looking like Trevor Lawrence, who threw 3 picks. Then you're going to end up looking like Zach Wilson in Week 2, who threw 3 picks. Like this is going to be a bad example for your quarterbacks to go through. Like it's a gauntlet. The NFL is a really tough league. So if you're not prepared for that, which he really showed that he wasn't, it's not going to do good things for him for his career. I like I said, the football fan in me wants Justin Fields to succeed because I don't like seeing good talent go to waste. But Matt Nagy's not helping him out. I don't really see him as anything more than, dare I say it, I think he's a black Mitch Trubisky. I said it. I'm going to die on that hill. If Matt Nagy keeps doing what he's doing right now, which is, I don't know, you're going to turn Justin Fields into a black Mitch Trubisky. So, Jalen Mayfield, thanks for the $5. Thoughts on the Niners throughout the season? Do you think injuries will get to them again? They already had their injuries. Like I said, Raheem Mostert's gone. JaMychal Hasty's gone. Elijah Mitchell's gone. Like the next person that they're going to grab is someone off the street at this point. And they're going to have to quite literally do that. I heard talks about them trying to get like Todd Gurley finally into the building. They're trying to get Ito Smith involved because of his rapport with Kyle Shanahan. I don't love either one of those options. The fact that Todd Gurley has lasted this long not on a team, that's really concerning. So maybe his confidence is completely shot, but I don't know what they got yet. So they're going to really be pass heavy, which is good news for Deebo Samuel, but it might not be all that great of news for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's really on the hot seat in terms of possibly losing his position quicker rather than later, because I think that San Francisco fans are really going to try to see what Trey Lance can do for them. And again, what I said, if you put these rookie quarterbacks in half-baked, the fans are going to be left with a bad taste in their mouth. I'm not West Coast Falcon. I am Noah Tyndall. I made a article back in week 2, about week 2. I've been kind of in the woodworks as a writer for a little over a month, and now I'm starting to get recognition, which I am absolutely surprised by. So I want to say thank you to everyone that checked out. Hey, thank you to that one German fella that read my article. I hope you understood it. I don't know if you're going to see this stream, but if you do, I just want you to say thank you. You're the only person outside the country that paid attention to my my article. I just want to really give you a good shout out because I just get excited seeing like Falcons fans outside of Atlanta that are really passionate about this team. And hey, even more props to you if you're out of the country. Even more props to you if you're like learning a different language in order to do so. So Trey Purdy, I am not Falcons West. He's someone else, and I really want to see him more in the streams. I know that we've been in more conversations with meeting up in that San Francisco game because I'm going to be there. He's going to be pretty much sitting in the same section as me. So maybe we start having some more conversations on the stream for you guys a little bit later, before that game against them. But yeah, I'm someone different. Okay, AJ Evans says Mike Davis, Saquon, Miles Sanders, Debo for a flex. Again, I mean, you got some good options at running back with more so Mike Davis than Miles Sanders. But it's still Debo for me. Like anytime you have him on the flex right now, it's gonna do you some good. I feel like Fields expects the position to be given to him. He needs more dog in him to compete and work for it. Yeah, I mean, I do kind of see him have like some sort of a fighting spirit. All right. If you're gonna be drafted that high, then Dak Prescott needs to be your floor. Like you need to be better than Dak Prescott. But again, you really can't expect that to happen because that is like another Justin Herbert type situation where Tony Romo went down in the preseason game against Seattle, and then they started throwing Dak Prescott on the fire. But because the team around them was built better from the offensive line, from the rookie running back Ezekiel Elliott, from the good receiving core that they had, from a coach that wasn't going to burn him to the ground, like that's why Dak Prescott was successful. Why Justin Herbert was successful was an entirely different story. All right, because he was not being utilized correctly in college. So, yeah, with Justin Fields, it's a case-by-case basis with quarterbacks, and I don't see them being that much of a case right now. Like I said, he's in the makings right now to be the Black Mitch Trubisky. Raiders beat the Niners to all these running backs. Yeah. And even then, like, Devontae Freeman wasn't suiting for them. I don't think Latavius Murray was suited up, but there was Le'Veon Bell that wasn't suited for them yet in that Week 1 game against Vegas. They're trying to get that running back figured out with Tyson Williams, which I think he's hopefully going to run away with that job right now. Up until like some other running back gets back from that IR. But yeah, appreciate it. I'm gonna be here all Wednesdays. So, are you new to our channel, Trey Party? Look like you just jumped in. I haven't really seen much of you in the comment section, so you can't wait for a quarterback to go down when you have Nick Foles. The thing about catching lightning in a bottle is it's next to impossible to first have that happen the first time, but then the second time, it's really hard to get that happen again. Because I think you're going to get like Kansas City Nick Foles. I think you're going to get like Jacksonville Nick Foles if he's thrusted onto the field. Olin Walker, how's it going? It says a lot of people wanting Cordell Patterson to get more snaps than Mike Davis, but the only reason Mike is having a slow start is because everyone has all of last year's tape to game plan on, which I think that, yeah, there's some truth to that. But the other thing is they have different roles on the offense, like I said. Like when we have a lead, which we really haven't had one, I think you're going to start to see more Mike Davis because I think he's going to tire the defense out. I think that they have the makings to be like a good like thunder to lightning duo. I'm not going to say that they're going to be like a T.J. Duckett and Warwick Dunn or like a Michael Turner and Jacquizz Rodgers, but I think that they both have good strengths that allow them to stay on the field and have some significant snaps. So quarterback's got to be the hardest position to evaluate. Yeah. Hey, experts get it wrong all the time. Back in the 1999 draft, the first quarterback taken was Tim Couch. The next quarterback taken after that was Donovan McNabb. Not everyone gets it right, man. I was watching work. I was watching work a lot, or to catch live. Well, you're here now, so appreciate you tuning in even when you can. So, hey, for all you people that are checking this out afterwards, after the stream is over, I know that it's really going to be a hard time for everyone to step in live right now. I got like the equivalent of like the 3 a.m. infomercial time period, especially if you're in like the East Coast. But hey, if you want to listen to this in the morning or listen to this whenever you can, I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to work this stream into my weekly schedule too to help you guys out. So I think, well, with that one, I mean, if you put Mahomes in the same situation, do you really trust Matt Nagy to fix the quarterback there? Because, like I said, it's all down to situations. With Kansas City having guys like Andy Reid in the building, that is like really like developed a quarterback before of his caliber. Actually, like I said with McNabb, Andy Reid have really developed McNabb into a solid passer. I think they share a couple of similarities. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes surpasses a lot of those similarities, but just from a physical talent, Andy Reid has dealt with that before. So then you also had like that little tenure with Vic. Like I know that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be that much of a runner, but that's not to say that he can't run. I mean, he literally had a rushing touchdown in Cleveland. He scrambled all over the field against the Super Bowl, nearly ran 500 yards on a limp leg. So you got to do what you can to put your team in the best position to win. And if that allows you to be a little bit more mobile, then, hey, I think you implement that into your game plan. But to say that that's like the mold that every coach and every offense can really fit into their system well, it's not a full guarantee. Because sometimes the offensive line, they're not going to have the best of times blocking for a mobile quarterback if they don't know where he is at all times. Sometimes the receivers, if they got to improvise their routes like halfway into the play, that's not going to be the best of ideas too. And when you're a running back and now you're sharing touches with your mobile quarterback, it's like, dude, that's your job description. And with the quarterback position, that's just the icing on the cake. So why are you going to be here and trying to steal my job? So sometimes like an offense, it's going to be run by whoever is at the wheel, not just on the field, but who's talking into their head. So speaking of running quarterbacks, my next game that I'm going to be previewing is Baltimore at Detroit. Two vastly different quarterbacks in terms of play style. With Baltimore, man, I've been having some dud games for Mark Andrews. And I'm really glad that I drafted Kyle Pitts like almost right afterwards, because now I'm starting to see Pitts have a rhythm, but I'm not really seeing so much of Andrews. I think this could be his bounce back game. I really want to start Mike Andrews right now, but I just like Kyle Pitts matchup too much because I think the Lions, they're kind of in the same boat as far as like their linebacker talent. They might be slightly better actually. They've actually been shopping Jamie Collins. I just saw that like a little bit before the stream started. Like they're trying to get rid of Jamie Collins. So if he ends up in New York as a Giant, like that's good for them because now they get a legit like dual threat kind of linebacker, because Blake Martinez is more there for run support, and Tay Crowder and Lorenzo Carter is not going to be like raising any eyebrows like that. So you got those three guys. They're fine, but I think Jamie Collins can have a little bit more oomph in that room. So I mean, if he's not on the field for Detroit right now, that's even worse for them in terms of stopping Lamar. If you have Lamar, let's see, man, sometimes it's a toss-up with the wide receivers. Like one game it's Sammy Watkins, who's always a good option for like week one at least. Then Hollywood Brown's trying to get more involved, and then it was like, next up was like Devin Duvernay. was more of a return guy, but now he can see some snaps on the field. And it's like, okay, these are fine options, but until they get Rashad Bateman back from injury, like they really still have to depend on Lamar in other ways. And we saw that against Kansas City with him like running over 100 yards. So, you have anything else? I'm going to try to eventually get to like every game. Like I said, I'm trying to talk about every offense and every defense, but if you want me to talk about comparisons, hey, leave that in the chat. With Detroit, they're still a fighting team, They probably legitimately took some kneecaps off of the 49ers running back room, so there's that. They didn't really take the kneecaps off of Aaron Jones, though, on that Monday night game. So, yeah, all the errands went off. So, Detroit, it's still T.J. Hawkinson, but even then, like the Ravens linebacker group they're pretty good. I think that Westry, their corner there, like it was like 6'4" and 200 pounds. He could probably be a good matchup against T.J. Hawkinson because he did some good things with Darren Waller back in Week 1 with the bracketed coverage. So if you got that, Jalen Mayfield, thank you very much for tuning in. You can probably catch the rest of us right now. If you're going to be leaving right now, here's your timestamp to come back, and it's about an hour and 6 minutes in. So there you go. You don't have to, if you want to write that down or something, put that on your phone as your notes, whatever, if you want to come back. So appreciate you tuning in. But as far as the rest of the people in Detroit, like I said, Jamal Williams is going to get some good. Are you asking me or are you asking anyone else? Just checking. Because we still got some other streams coming up. I don't think we're going to be streaming at all for tomorrow because we're going to be paying attention to the Panthers-Texans game. But, we always got the Friday Night Madness. We're going to try to implement a little bit of another stream on Saturday afternoons because there's someone else on the West Coast that wants to join our crew too. So I'm really excited for that. Maybe I can get someone else to talk to. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a Saturday stream that's in the works. You have Friday stream, which I'm going to also try to be making some more attempts at catching because they start that like right as soon as I get back from work. So I'll sometimes like have that ear as I'm driving back to work or driving back home. And as soon as I'm like ready physically, and a little bit more mentally, that's when I hop on. So I'm going to be trying to do that, and then if you want more content that I can provide you, then tune in after the games, and then I can provide like another deep breakdown analysis of whatever happens in New York. So you got that to look forward to afterwards. So, okay. Oh, about the defenses for this game. If you have Baltimore's defense, I suggest you try to start them. I think once Jared Goff gets hit once, he's not going to have a good day. He's yet to find a win without Sean McVay. Like that's that's incredible. Oh, you're from Cali too. You're from Cali. Never met another Falcons fan in person ever. Nothing but Niners and Raiders. I'm in the same boat, man. Like I said, I've also grown up with like no other Falcons fans as friends. Whew. So, hey, hats off to you. My head is already off, but respect. I want to get some more people involved in other places too, because it's not just Atlanta that wants to support this team too. You got some other people from the UK that's got a really good, strong fan base as well. I was just checking about like the stats from other countries, and there's a long list of countries that from January 1st of this year to today have found their way to our website, and that makes me excited because I like to see other fan bases like spread out internationally too. especially something like us that really wants other people to like cheer for them. Hey man, and I'm looking forward to everyone else's support. Yeah, so that's a good thing too. I'm gonna keep that on the screen for you. So yeah, Baltimore's defense, I like them. So if you got them, start them. Kickers, you got Justin Tucker. That's it. No questions asked after that. Okay, the next matchup is going to be Saints at Patriots, and got a notification. Let's like that. Okay, so Saints at Patriots. I don't know what kind of game you're gonna get from Jameis Winston this time. I really don't. Are you gonna get the perfect proficient game, or are you gonna get the last week's game? Because you still got some people that are really competitive on that New England Patriots defense. You know, all the way from like up front with like Christian Barmore and in the linebacking group. You got some dogs there. J.C. Jackson really proved his worth against Zach Wilson. Just yet another quarterback that was afraid to admit that he was in fact seeing ghosts. So hey, Zach Wilson, sorry, but welcome to the NFL. That's what Bill Belichick does for you, buddy. And I'm gonna be honest. Once you grow up, once you hit puberty, then maybe you can start beating Belichick at some point or another. At least once. I mean, come on. I think Geno Smith beat Brady, or not Brady, but the Patriots. Well, Brady was on the team, but it's not just him. Again, it's not just him. So, I don't really like the receiving core of New Orleans right now. Their top guy is still going to be like Marquez Callaway, Jawan Johnson at tight end. That's not names that scream off the board for me. Alvin Kamara is going to be the focal point to stop. Taysom Hill is, I don't know what he's listed at anymore, not just on the depth chart, but also in fantasy leagues. He varies from like position to position. Some people list him as a quarterback. Some people list him as a tight end. Some people list him as a wide receiver. You know, I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, like Alvin Kamara is still the only threat on the team now, and Belichick knows how to stop a running back. So on the other side of things, now you have Mac Jones, who's, you know, he's already put in like the best position to start acquiring wins. So that's good for his confidence level. That was good for him in terms of like being slowly but surely comfortable in that offense. They were running a little bit of gimmicky plays, but James White is someone else that you should really pay attention to because he got a lot of good touches. You know, that whole running back group is really benefiting from a rookie quarterback because, you know, they complement each other. So the short passing game is going to be all for James White. You know, and I hate saying his name as a Falcons fan because he straight up won Super Bowl 51, which I'm not going to talk about anymore. But when it comes to the rest of the team, you know, you got Jonnu Smith, who's really coming into his own now. You have wide receivers that are still trying to prove their worth right now. You got Kendrick Bourne, who I think had like an early scare of like making a fumble, and you had like Nelson Aguilar, N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers. I mean, Jacoby Myers is fine, but I can't really expect him to do much in fantasy for you. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm expecting like somewhat of a low-scoring game. You know, just like what happened last week against the Jets. Like the Jets should have been someone that, you know, if like a veteran quarterback will really blow out of the water. But the Jets haven't really faced that quarterback yet. They were facing Sam Darnold, and now they're facing Zach Wilson, and now they're going to face Jameis Winston. So they really haven't faced a whole lot of threats on the offensive side of the ball as far as New England's concerned. So maybe if you're looking for a defense in fantasy, maybe give New England a shot. You know, if there's going to be a team that can confuse a quarterback, it's going to be Bill Belichick. So you got that. Outside that, all I can feel confident in. Oh, Asia wants to say hello to someone else. I'm going to pop her up on the screen for her. Okay, next one up, Cardinals against Jaguars. Get everyone on the Cardinals. Whoever you have. I don't care if it's like DeAndre Hopkins or if it's Andy Isabella. You start them because, oh my gosh, that's the Jaguars. They're not going to be able to stop anything. And this is us saying that. Like, we're still technically one of the worst defenses in the league. But we at least have what it takes in order to stop some threats on the offensive side. And now you got Kyler Murray going up in Jacksonville. You're not going to expect much of a quarterback competition here because, case in point, they're not looking good. You know, if you want to talk about like, oh hey, like at least a rookie quarterback's going to give us hope for the future. Is that what it's looking like for Jacksonville? Is that what it's looking like for New York? Or is that another case of like, oh, I think we just drafted another like Christian Hackenberg or something, you know? Like, I don't. It ain't the prettiest looks. It ain't the prettiest looks. So, you know, when it comes to like making sure that the quarterbacks are in a good position, this is not one of them. You know, if you throw Gardner Minshew into the fire, maybe he does slightly better, or at least he still provides that hope for Jacksonville. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have that quarterback competition. New England did the same thing later on, dropping Cam Newton. You know, so it's like, what do? You didn't want a quarterback competition, but now you just threw your rookie quarterback into the fire and expected him not to get roasted. Not a good plan. So, hey, start everyone. Start the Cardinals defense. Start the Cardinals kicker. Start everyone on the Cardinals because I am chasing these bad offenses right now. I'm chasing the quarterbacks that still haven't figured out what they're supposed to be doing yet. You know, they got a lot to learn. They got a long way. They got a ways to go. And this is not going to be one of those good moments for them. Okay. All right. Actual game this time. You got Washington. You got Buffalo. This is a game that I want to watch as a football fan. You know, and I really hope that this is going to be one that they're going to be showcasing a lot more. So with Washington on one side, like I said, J.D. McKissick. If you didn't have the luxury of drafting Antonio Gibson early, get J.D. McKissick because he's actually seeing a lot more snaps on the offensive side of the ball. Logan Thomas had his touchdown taken away from him from Ricky Seals-Jones, and I don't like that, and I don't expect that to keep happening. So I still like that matchup there. Terry McLaurin, he did really well against James Bradbury, which, you know, like for a younger, I would say younger because Taylor Heineke's been in football for at least a couple of years, but he's still relatively new to starting for Washington, so that's something that you can at least hang your hat on. But yeah, Terry McLaurin is still a viable option. Sneaky option right there. If you can't get Terry McLaurin, maybe pick up De'Ami Brown. His route running has really been – he looks experienced at that. You know, he really looks experienced at route running and making sure that he's open. So I suggest that you pick up De'Ami Brown, see what he can do for you. I do like the Bills' defense, but I also like Taylor Heineke's just will to fight to try to get his team to win. You know, he's got those intangibles that you just want to root for. You know, and I'm not even a fan of Washington, but I just want to see good players do good. And then on the other side of things, I don't know what the heck is going on with Josh Allen this year. He didn't look all that good against the Steelers, which I can forgive because it's the Steelers defense. But he completed just barely half of his passes against Miami. He just looked abysmal. I don't know what was going on. Even his one highlight touchdown throw to Stephon Diggs, it was like the cardinal sin of a quarterback. Like, you don't throw across your body like that. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Like, he got his mechanics fixed. Brian Dable's still there, so it's not like he's still figuring out the offense. He knows what he should be doing right now. If he's getting figured out by the rest of the league, which could happen sometimes, maybe this is his next sophomore slump, but just happening later on in his career. I don't know what's going on, but this should be his get right game. All right. If Daniel Jones did good against Washington, I should expect Josh Allen to do better than that because he's got better things around him. Devin Singletary surprised me too against Miami too. Like, it was great to see the rest of Buffalo helping, them win against a team that really didn't show up. I know that Tua was hurt early off in the game, but it's not like Jacoby Brissett was much of a drop off for that team. Just like how the drop off for Fitzpatrick. Let me get in the frame for Fitzpatrick to Heineke. It wasn't that big of a deal. And I see the same thing with Tua and Brissett. Like, they're both solid quarterback options. It's not like they need to sign Cam Newton or anything. But he's on the table. He wants to start. I don't know if he can. I think, now that I brought that up, now I got to debunk that idea. I just like the idea that Jacoby Brissett has more control than offense, and it's got more of a rapport. So, but with Buffalo's sake, you feel comfortable starting Stephon Diggs, which is a good thing. Cole Beasley's still going to get you good looks. Gabe Davis has been emerging as a true legitimate slot receiver, or at least another outside threat. They kind of put him wherever. I can't expect the same thing to happen from Devin Singletary as what happened with last week with Saquon Barkley, because Saquon Barkley was really getting in his own way. But here with Devin Singletary, he doesn't really have that much of a problem like that. He's just not utilized as much on that offense, which, hey, I think 2021 Josh Allen really needs. So the defenses on these teams, if I had to pick one to start, who would I choose? Would I choose Buffalo's or would I choose Washington's? Divisional games are not the best measuring sticks because those are always relatively close, unless you're New Orleans, which, what the heck happened to you guys? But part of me still wants to go Buffalo here. That's not to say that they're not going to score a whole lot of points, but it's the lesser of two evils here. So if you got these defenses, Washington especially was really drafted high in a lot of fantasy leagues. But I've always preferred the matchups over just getting the best defense from last year and making sure that they maintain that level of performance, which is not because there's a lot of turnover in the league, so you can't expect that with Brandon Staley leaving the LA Rams to join the Chargers, and then you have Raheem Morris joining the defensive coordinator spot for LA. It's some of the top positions they already moved, some of their key play callers. So you really can't base off of last year as to what's going to happen in this year. It's just not that best. It's just not the best thinking. Okay, so moving on to the afternoon games. You have the Jets at the Broncos, and hey, if someone already took the idea of grabbing all the Cardinals, okay, here's another question. Leo123 says, should I start Bills or Cardinals defense? Like I said, all Cardinals. Just go as much Cardinals as you can possibly get. That's it. Bills is a tougher opponent right there. I didn't really feel confident choosing Buffalo over Washington, and I didn't really feel confident choosing Washington over Buffalo, but I feel 100% confident starting Arizona against Jacksonville. All right. So, hey, if everyone beat you to it, get Broncos people. Get everyone, all right? Start them. Start Cortland Sutton. Start Tim Patrick. Start KJ Hamler, if he's available. Start Noah Fant. Start the backup tight end that I can't say the name of. Start Javonte Williams. Start everyone, because the Jets are not really stopping anyone else. The Patriots, they're still figuring out their offense. But now with Denver, Teddy Bridgewater's feeling confident. So, hey, start him too. Broncos are about to be 3-0, and I don't think that's it's not a clear-cut solution as to what they look like as a team. Okay. Now we got some James Zoo. All right, running backs: Cook, Gibson, Damian Harris. Wide receiver: Hopkins, Ridley, Lamb, Godwin, AB. Tight end: Pitts. Should I trade Godwin, Gibson, and Pitts for Kelsey and Montgomery? Montgomery. Godwin is on my bench, 8-man PPR. All right. So you're going to get rid of Godwin, Gibson, and Pitts. That's 3 players on your team. And you're going to try to get the best tight end and Montgomery. You're kind of downgrading the running back position there. I still trust Antonio Gibson. I like him. I think he's going to have a little bit more of a role in Washington than David right now in Chicago. But why would you put Godwin on your bench? I don't really like that sound of that trade. I mean, you have Dalvin Cook, which is fine. Damian Harris is really emerging as a true running back 1 over there. As an actual runner. If they want a receiving threat, then they go James White. You're really set on wide receiver. I'd prefer Godwin over Lamb. Excuse me. Yeah, I definitely prefer. Yeah, you have Hopkins, Ridley, and Lamb instead of Godwin. Like I said, I still want Godwin. I think he gives you a better ceiling on some games. You just don't know when that's going to happen. With Lamb, there's always going to be that one play that he really should have made. Godwin's more of a safer option to throw to for Brady than Lamb is for Dak. But I know why you're starting Lamb, because Dak is going to probably have more times to throw. And he's going to get you those yards. Whereas Godwin can probably get you the touchdowns. So what do you value more there? In a PPR league, man. If you're getting points per reception, maybe, yeah. Every league is run different, so it's a good thing that you at least mentioned those standards. Just slightly, but I don't. Point is, Hopkins and Ridley are going to do wonders for you this week. So maybe the third wide receiver is something that you might not even have to worry about so much. Leo says, is Henry Ruggs a start over Allen Robinson? Okay, too wobbly. Oh boy, he was actually this was actually the next game I was talking about, because Miami at Vegas, and hey, maybe Miami makes the plane to Vegas because they didn't even show up in their own stadium. Maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe they were removing the jet lag from the trip from Miami over down to Vegas, and I don't know what was going on, but sure, I would say that Ruggs is a better start, but even then, I like what Derek Carr can do in terms of throwing it deep versus Justin Fields learning the playbook still and getting familiar with his targets. So even though that it's not going to be like a substantial or obvious yes to this question, because like Ruggs is going to be there for the deep ball. Waller's going to be there for like, hey, I need a catch. And if it's not him, then I'm going to get Hunter Renfrow involved. And then for the red zone, whenever Darren Waller is somehow covered, then I'm going to start throwing to Bryan Edwards. But you're between the between the two 20s, from the 20 to the 20, Henry Ruggs, like that's your domain. And I really think that they can have some more deep shots to Henry Ruggs there, especially against Miami. Because wow. Okay. Now we got a Rams fan coming in here, which I'm going to get to his game later on. But now, with the rest of the conversation about Miami at Raiders, oh gosh, how do you want to gauge this game that Miami just had against Buffalo? Because now they don't have Tua, and sure, like I just said, like on the field they didn't really have that much of a drop. Off the field, like in terms of the confidence level of the team going into the game, maybe that falls because Raiders has just stepped up to the plate and just being like, hey, you NFC North teams, you better watch out for us. Maybe they just gassed themselves out, but now they're back in Vegas, so I don't really see that much of a good matchup there. So do I say like, hey, start every Raider? It's not going to be that cut and dry this time around. Whereas like Denver, yeah, I feel confident there. With Cardinals, I definitely feel confident there. Maybe get Bryan Edwards. If he's available, I like those odds. Unless Zay Jones is yet another touchdown vulture. Dolphins, they don't really have anyone else to talk about. Maybe Jalen Waddle can get involved more. But other than that, yeah. Devontae Parker, like Gesicki, like there's pieces there, so why didn't they score at all? Like, that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm concerned with. You had all these weapons. Like I said, you had Devontae Parker, you had Jalen Waddle, you had Myles Gaskin in the backfield, you have Mike Gesicki. You have a good enough of an offensive line. Just because Tua's not there for you, that doesn't mean that this team like isn't capable of scoring any points anymore. So I don't know what gives. Do they come back and have more fight here? I want them to see that because I like seeing good games instead of blowouts. Especially because that Buffalo and Miami game, that just lasted and kept going for whatever reason. Like, I don't know what it was, but as every game in the morning was like dwindling down to like late in the fourth quarter, I still saw like the Dolphins and Bills still playing in like midway into the third. I'm like, what the heck happened? Like, is it like some sort of a weather delay? I don't really know. But point is, I don't really trust the Dolphins this week. So maybe you swap them out for this game, for this Sunday, and you start saying like, hey, I want to get a Cardinal. I want to get a Raider. I want to get a Bronco. That's a viable option too. Okay. The next Sunday afternoon matchup, you have Seattle at Minnesota. Okay, here's the thing. They were both in shootouts last Sunday afternoon. They were both like really close. The only problem is that Seattle really sputtered at the finish line and let Tennessee really come back in that game. I think Seattle won the coin toss. I know they had possession in the overtime. Like that should have been enough for them to win. I don't think they had the ball first, now that I think about it. I think it was the coin toss that Tennessee won. But then they didn't score, so then they had to punt it back to Seattle, and then they didn't do anything with it either. So I don't know what happened there. But, yeah, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, those are your typical starts. Kyler Murray shredded that defense in Minnesota. I kind of expect Russell Wilson to do the same. Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, Dalvin Cook is he's an option. I don't know if he's the best option here, but he might not be starting. If you're really desperate for a quarterback, he puts up some good numbers. Those first two games, he wasn't the reason as to why those teams. He wasn't the reason as to why the first two Vikings games didn't go their way. Oh, how's it going, Leo's friend? He's got a question. Should he start Mahomes or Herbert? Man, when did this become a question? It's still Mahomes, because I still trust Mahomes to throw himself into a win, even if he's down. Like the reason as to why Kansas City lost that last matchup, it was because of the good forced fumble by Odafe Oweh. It wasn't because of Mahomes was suddenly playing bad. Like they scored 35 points on a loss. Like that's a valiant effort there. Whereas Justin Herbert was kind of sputtering against Dallas. It didn't really help that the rest of the team was sputtering with all those penalties. So, hey, maybe you go for Mahomes just because of the more disciplined team. So that's my way to answer that question. So Minnesota, Dalvin Cook is still going to be an option. I am actually worried, because I have the Justin Jefferson conundrum. I don't know whether to start him. Because I haven't seen a good stat line from him, because Adam Thielen's been stealing all of his touchdowns, and I didn't draft him. And then there was the other receiver that just came out of nowhere that was that got that 64-yard touchdown pass, that first throw from Kirk Cousins in that game. I was like, what? How? How did you give the ball to him but not to Justin Jefferson? Please help me out here. If I had to start a defense, I would drop both of them and start someone else, because I don't think either one is going to stop anything, because they really didn't do anything last week. So yeah, you got that. I don't really think I talked about who wins these games. I know I feel confident about Oakland. I keep saying Oakland. Yeah, for good reason. They're just the Oakland Raiders that just so happen to play in Vegas, okay? And I'm gonna stop pretending that that's wrong. Anyways, you got the Broncos. Yeah, they're gonna win that game. Buffalo. It's a close one. I'm gonna go with Buffalo though. Cardinals. Patriots against the Saints. Patriots. Ravens against the Lions. Ravens. Browns against the Bears. Browns. Steelers against the Bengals. Ever so slightly Steelers. I don't. Bengals could win this game. They could. That wouldn't surprise me. Chiefs versus Chargers. Chiefs. Colts versus Titans. Titans. Panthers versus Texans. Panthers. All right, those are my options so far. And then obviously I'm going with Falcons. How am I going to be on the stream and not be a supporter of my own team? Anyways, moving along. And hey, this is your time to shine, dude. So I'm going to be talking about your team. So hopefully you're still here. But before I get to that, Slim City said, thoughts on a trade of Noah Fant and Christian Kirk for Sterling Shepard. Would you accept this trade or trade for this either way? So you're trading both Fant and Christian Kirk to get Sterling Shepard? Is that your question? As I wait for your response, I'm going to start talking about this Bucs and Rams game. I want the Rams to win. All right? So that should please you if you're still here. Okay, yeah, so you're trading both of them. What do you expect Sterling Shepard to do? I just said, hey, start all the Broncos, start all the Cardinals, and here you are trying to trade both of them away just to try to get Sterling Shepard. You just went against all of my logic. Would you accept the trade for Shepard? No. I mean, if I received this trade, if I had Sterling Shepard and you sent me this, I'm not thinking twice. Because this is a loss for you. If you're trying to trade them away to get Sterling Shepard, who's being thrown to by Daniel Jones and is still in a wide receiver group that's loaded, and I can still say the same thing about Noah Fant and Christian Kirk, but I trust their quarterbacks more. Yeah, I mean, you at least have Waller. I mean, that's a good thing. He's going to get you some scores. But just remember, because you have Waller, that doesn't negate the fact that you can still put Noah Fant on the flex. All right, and the Raiders are going to have a bye week at some point. I don't think Denver and the Raiders, they share the bye week. So keep 2 tight ends because tight ends are really hard to come by. Yeah, Diggs and Jefferson, man. Yeah, you're kind of set. You want Shep as the flex. I don't know why. Noah Fant's a better option there to the flex for this week. Christian Kirk is a better option for you this week. Because, I mean, you got to think like Sterling Shepard, then there's Darius Slayton, then there's Kenny Golladay. And if I'm the Giants, I want to find a reason as to why we drafted Kadarius Toney so high. And then you're still going to have some passing plays where Daniel Jones is going to still move around and start running the ball. I don't really trust that. Then you still have Kyle Rudolph as your dependable tight end in the middle. I don't think Evan Ingram's going to make a return yet. Yeah, I don't know why you're so adamant about getting Shepard. I'd really like to see your reasoning on that. Because it doesn't make sense to me why you would trade both of those options away for one player. Trading 2 for 1 is not a good idea. So maybe snag someone else on that roster. Because right now I trust Christian Kirk as much as I do Sterling Shepard, and I'm not going to try to sacrifice Noah Fant for that, and vice versa. So, anyways, back to the Tampa and Rams game. This is Brady's first game in LA. How? I don't know if anyone else saw that, but how is this Brady's first game in LA after all this time? Anyways, yeah, you're welcome. But I still want your input too. I wanted to see your logic because, hey, I could be wrong in terms of the results, but if it's a question about my logic that you're concerned about, then, hey, try to hit me up with a rebuttal, and we can talk it out. But I don't like those options. I don't like that idea of trying to remove 2 for 1. Because then you're still going to have to pick someone else up on the waiver wire. And then that's a smaller pool than what you already have. So you're kind of cutting yourself thin at a position that's already thin. Like, truth be told, when you keep cutting the rope, it's going to get smaller. So, moving on to the 2 undefeated teams. This should be the game of the week. If it's not, then that's a sin on the NFL's part. The fact that they've been hyping up both of these teams over this offseason. So if this isn't available anywhere, I don't care where you're at, whether you're, here on the East Coast, West Coast, Germany, anywhere else, this should be broadcast somewhere for you. All right. And as far as who do I expect to go off in these games? I said I like Godwin, and I'm going to stand by that. Because I don't think that Ramsey's going to be on Godwin. I think Ramsey's going to take that matchup with either Antonio Brown or Mike Evans. just because they're the better names. And I know that Jalen Ramsey likes to go against the top wide receiver. And I don't really think that Chris Godwin's had that title. So then you have that. Then you have Gronk, who has been on a tear in terms of the red zone, in terms of his threats, like his receptions. Like he's always going to get at least a one look in the red zone. So you got that to deal with. And then you have LA's side. You know, I've always thought that drafting Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods so far has been a good option because I just like that McVay offense, you know, and now that's even more prevalent with the change at quarterback with Matt Stafford. So I'm sticking with these Rams receivers until they fail me, and they are not going to fail me because their quarterback just got a lot better. And with the running game, I haven't seen a ton from Darrell Henderson or Sonny Michel for that matter. Like that's still an offense that's revolved around the quarterback. And obviously Matt Stafford's dealt with that before. That's why he's so good at it here. Going up against Brady right now, we've shown that a team like us can sucker punch that team. We may have lost this fight, but hey, we got some good jabs in, you know, and as a team that was very abysmal in week 1, the fact that we just like showed up and started like punching these guys in the mouth in the third quarter up until the fourth quarter. Take your money. Yeah, I still like the Rams here at home. Like I said, I think that they have the blueprint that they can win with. If, like I said, if we did what we did against Tampa, I don't see why the Rams can't. I just think that they're a little bit more loaded and ready to go as a roster. We could get there. It's not going to be week 3, but we could get there up to that point where they are right now. You know, I have full faith in this team to turn this ship around. You know, I really like what Arthur's been spitting at the podium, and I really like what he's been spitting as the players. And I've been saying spitting right now because after an hour and 45 minutes plus, oh boy, I've been talking a storm. And once again, I have made the mistake of not having water next to me. So if I have either of these defenses, I am not starting them. I am not feel comfortable starting either of these defenses. I think that they're both going to be shredded. It's going to be I'm expecting this to be a high-scoring game, but I still expect LA to come out on top just because that Tampa is now met with like an opponent that rivals their own skill. So I trust that matchup against Tampa. And plus, like I said, I want them to lose because I don't like seeing our division rivals look good at all. But sometimes I got to have my foot put in my mouth for me because, golly, I don't like that. I'm fine with like predicting stuff and being wrong sometimes just because I don't have control of the outcome. I just want my logic to be made clear to more people. So it's sometimes simple logic, but sometimes simple is the best answer, you know. So move along to the Sunday night game. All right, finally made it. Made it to the night games. All right, we got the Packers at the 49ers. And let me just say, give me the Packers right here. So, because they just really look comfortable against Detroit. The Niners, they looked comfortable against Detroit up until the final 2 minutes. And, yeah, they ain't got no legs, Lieutenant. They ain't got no ground game. Maybe you put Trey Lance at running back. Who knows? But I don't trust that team as far as like keeping up with Packers, right? Keeping up with the Packers. Knowing the 49ers and knowing like Jimmy Garoppolo and everyone else, they're probably too busy keeping up with the Kardashians to keep up with Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, I said it. All right, moving on to the final game, which is going to be Eagles at Dallas. Ooh. NFC East games can sometimes either be a snooze fest or a really competitive game. I always hope for the latter, but here, oh my goodness, it's a toss-up. I think both their strengths and their weaknesses were exposed in these weeks. Because Philadelphia, I don't know what happened, but they had like a 91-yard reception and didn't score that drive because they were too busy trying to recreate the Philly special with Jalen Hurts on a 4th and goal. Yeah, Blazing 187. If you need more logic behind the reasoning as to why I think the Rams can beat the Patriots, not the Patriots. Why am I keep saying that with Brady? With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got the interior defensive line to put the pressure up the middle. When we hit Brady with Marlon Davidson on that sack on 3rd down, and then we did the same thing with Debo later on in that game. We were getting to Brady. They weren't not having that confidence in getting themselves down the field. So they were really dependent on getting defensive stops. And the fact that, 2 of these interceptions were just straight up gifted to them. One was just a bad throw by Ryan and a good play by Mike Edwards. But it was also kind of like a poor decision to keep Russell Gage back onto the field after a play of, he got his ankle twisted by Antoine Winfield, which I thought was dirty and that should have been flagged. That wasn't the case. And then 2nd down, he stepped out of the field, only to come back on the field on 3rd down, get thrown to, and have it be a bad decision. So I don't see the Rams having that problem on the offensive side of the ball. So they got that to think about as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Packers 49ers because I'm starting to trust Robert Tonyan more, or Tonyan, however you say his name, as a tight end. So I'd say, hey, give him a chance. I don't know what you're thinking. Wait, the 49ers have a really good linebacking core. I understand that. But they also made Dallas Goedert look good too at some points. So if they make Dallas Goedert look good, I trust Robert Tonyan to make some plays too. Especially because, hey, look who's throwing to him, So you got that to deal with. You have Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. Now they're on a tear. I really don't know what happened with week 1. Maybe they did throw that game, or maybe, like I said, New Orleans just prepared their entire offseason to beat Green Bay, and that was it. I wouldn't put it past Kevin James. I mean, Sean Payton. So, Eagles at Dallas. Who do I expect to win this game? Maybe I should do what Matt Ryan used to do. I should probably put like a headphone alert or warning. I don't know if that was too loud for you guys, but oh my gosh. Give me Dallas just because they're at home. They showed some fight against LA, which I like to see. Sometimes the Eagles, they didn't really just put their foot in their mouth. They unhinged their jaw and put their whole leg in there. I don't know what was the reason for them doing all that work to get 0 out of it. And then they looked really anemic in other parts of the field too. I want Jalen Hurts to do good because I don't like the fact that we're losing to somewhat bad teams. I don't want that to be on our history's resume. So I do want Philly to look good, to look better, because then that makes our loss against them look somehow, more forgivable. But if they get blown out by Dallas, which is a possibility, it's not going to look good for us in terms of our reputation. So, yeah, give me Dallas. Give me the matchup with the. I don't trust Ezekiel Elliott that much. A lot of people are picking up Tony Pollard, which is another decent waiver wire option too. I like Amari. I like Michael Gallup. I'm still growing on CeeDee Lamb early on in the season. I still think he's going to be more of a threat later on. But as far as right now, like week 3 version of CeeDee Lamb, it's not going to be that prevalent in terms of his offensive production. I don't really trust their tight ends this much this time around. But if I have Dak Prescott on my team, I'm gonna give him a chance against this Philly defense. So there's that. Okay, I went over just about everything I could about week 3. So hey, I'm getting quicker at this too. I mean, there was a little bit less questions, which is fine. I can get through it. I try to be a little bit more extensive this time with what the questions I was given with. So, I'm trying to help everyone out. And there we go. Blaze on 187 says Dallas will beat the Eagles. The Eagles will struggle against the run, setting up Lamb and Cooper. Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth. So thank you for that. Because I'm getting thirsty again. All right. So, any last thoughts, questions, comments, conversation pieces? Ask me anything now that you have the opportunity. It's like super late. But, hey, if you're here, how many of you that are available? But I'm going to start. I think I'm going to wind down once it gets to the 2-hour mark. We're about 4 minutes left to go. So, hey, if you want to say something, then I suggest you do it now while you can, because you're probably not going to see me until Friday, and even then I'm probably going to – that's not that much of a guarantee. So in the meantime, I do want to say this. This is something that I forgot to say last time. So last week at where I work – oh, here we go. Dallas' biggest issue is that DQ defense. Yep, good old Gilbert. Even then, I think the Eagles were kind of getting their own way rather than Dallas getting theirs. So, anyways, thanks for that. There we go. So, recently I got a visit from our company's regional sales manager, which is like the equivalent of my boss's boss's boss. And he knows that I'm a Falcons fan. I know that he's a 49ers fan because, I'm in California. That's how it goes over here. But he gave me a look that definitely was not happy. And I couldn't tell if it was work-related or not. Because it was. I'm like, oh, man, I don't know if I did anything wrong. I'm just over here thinking of scenarios, and I'm like, oh, geez, I don't think I did anything wrong. But at the same time, maybe it's like a culmination of other small things that I forgot about. So I'm over here panicking, right? And he starts walking towards me. He starts pointing his finger at me. And then he leans into me, slowly asks me this question. I was not prepared for what he was about to tell me. But he was asking me this question. And he was like, you think Mike Davis will do good for me on my fantasy team? I was like, oh my gosh. I got my boss's boss's boss relying on me for fantasy advice. I did tell him about the stream. So there's that. Yeah, they got that story. That being said, I told him the answer that, hey, if you get Mike Davis, that's fine, but you're probably going to do better if you have the stack of both Davis and Patterson, because Atlanta is now going to like to run. So I told him that answer. He told me that he's got Mike Davis and Calvin Ridley on his team. So if they don't start performing, I might need to recreate my resume. Okay, but I think that's going to do it for me. Thank you all for tuning in this late. If you catch this stream later on after that, appreciate it. I hope I answered your questions that you may have needed. Again, I'm going to be tuning in afterwards. I'm still going to be looking around in the comment section. So if you have anything else that I didn't get to, any other questions or comparisons, hey, hit me up because the comment section is still available. I'll be here next week, next Wednesday around this time. Like I said, I'm going to start to having myself invited for more of these Friday Night Madness moments or streams. We might set up a stream for Saturday afternoon. I don't know what that's going to be about yet. Maybe it's going to be a more in-depth look at our matchup because I'm already kind of talking about every team in the league. Like, I don't really think that anyone else in our crew is yeah, it's this late. I'm going to say it. I don't think they're as knowledgeable as every team as I am. So, yeah. All right. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. And, yeah, go Falcons.